I'm Sebnem. Actually, Sean, is it IG or YGG? And what does it mean?
Yeah, IG or UG or
IG.
or YGG. Yeah, UG I
Never
like.
thought
Yeah,
about sounding it out.
Yggdrasil is what it's short for.
Okay.
So that's
Cool.
the world tree from Norse
Oh,
mythology.
I didn't know. Cool. Yggdrasil. Cool. Hey, we have new joiners. Sebastian is coming back
Hello, dropping
and
in.
joining. Hello. Welcome. Lydia and Septimus are here.
Hello.
This is great. Hello.
Hey Zepti.
Okay.
How are you, John?
Hey, yeah, good.
Good to see you around.
Yes, it's been a while. Yeah.
So, how shall we start? So first of all, I have some news and some sorting, and I don't know if everyone knows about Omeka, the working group. Should I give a short intro, maybe for the ones who are joining new, and then we can riff off what we have on the table in this working group. Does that sound good, or do you want to add a question already that we should address? Peter or Ig?
That sounds good to me. This is my first working group that I've got to join, so an introduction would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So basically, so we moved from, this proposal, Omeka working group, sorting out the token engineering community side, how that, is reflected or is part of the commons. I think out of all of that thinking, this working group kind of was there since the beginning. It was even the first working group proposal when we just got started. So that's where the zero comes from. And that's how it moved to working group Omeka. And it was basically about, okay, we're a bunch of token engineers, but token engineering, the field is just emerging. We have the token engineering commons, so we know there's this knowledge that will be the public good of this community. And all of what I'm saying is kind of, the past 8 months that's that helped to form that knowledge or that insights or perspectives. But so we have this token engineering commons with all of the working groups taking care of that. We get an infrastructure and rules and rules of the game and the game in place to have Token Engineering Commons funds the public good of token engineering. And basically, we're figuring out what that is. It's got a lot to do with knowledge and knowledge sharing and knowledge dissemination to have everything we need in place to have token engineers and to have those token engineers to ethically engineer these new infrastructures, the bridges of the 21st century, if you will, between the digital and the physical spaces. So, and we have in this token engineering commons a lot of working groups which take care of transparency. For example, Zeptimus is leading that working group, or Lydia is leading the soft governance, meaning the people side, and how do those people make decisions, and so on. Communications, right? Tui is leading that with Jesse. So, and the Omeka working group turns out will be the place for the token engineering community, in a sense, like really the token engineers, what are our needs, what are our contributions and how are we going to contribute to token engineering commons, but also how can we actually shape what is this public good, and two things that really stand out is on one side the diversity of token engineering, all of the different backgrounds that come together and form these crypto economics flower. How do we nurture that diversity and enable the continuous exchange of this of these different perspectives? Anything that enables that, fosters that, makes it more, makes it easier figuring these sides out. And the other thing is the ethical token engineering. We know there is in engineering, there is ethical engineering is a thing, right? In software engineering, it's not a thing. That's why we have all of these problems with AI. And in token, it doesn't out, but not know how we're handling it. And this group basically is around figuring that out, putting things in place that it becomes easier and a thing to figure out how do we nurture diversity and how do we make the ethics in token engineering accessible. And that's a big question, actually, not only here in token engineering, but also, as you know, in AI, for example, everywhere where decision making is automated is the place of asking for whether ethics is embedded in this whole process. Hello, Letty.
Hello, how are you?
Manu. Hey. I just gave an update on what this working group is about and on these two areas that we identified. And last time, so we meet bi-weekly. Mm-hmm. That's another challenge. Yes, that we keep track from 2 weeks to 2 weeks, right? Yes. And just one more thing, as an update, for example, we had today this session, 90 minutes long, and I'll share the video recording as well. It was about the transdisciplinary art of token engineering, and we had Sharman and Trent there from the beginnings, Wasim, who did curate the Crypto Economics Journal 2 years ago, or almost 3 years ago. So it was super interesting, insightful, getting all of them into... You were there as well?
Yeah, I was doing sense making, which is like quite challenging at the same time. You do it and you have to continuously do it in this non-linear fashion. So yeah, I think we are all in these challenges at the same time in a non-linear fashion. Yeah.
Exactly. So again, that's where we're at. We have the Token Engineering Commons working group proposal. I think there we could look over and improve a few things. But maybe today, let's get to the point about the manifesto, what we want to... Last time Lydia also mentioned that we have the opportunity, or we should take the opportunity and make from this group really research proposals to Token Engineering Commons, one or two. And basically, if you could make a round of... and please share anything you have in mind. I'm sure there is something that brought you here and basically I would like to collect in this round then the topics that stand out in, ethics of token engineering and or the transdisciplinarity of token engineering. what we need and what type of research proposal we could create to be potentially funded through Token Engineering Commons. Of course, it would be good if we come up with something that we are motivated to pursue with or without funding, in a sense, because we can, come together, and if we wrap our heads around, we know that's going to be something we can make use of in our everyday lives in this space. So that would be my my topic, and I would like to just have us make a round.
Yeah, we can make a round for this as well.
Cool. Letty, do you wanna go next? Maybe also from what you had. You wanted to start with this knowledge hub. Maybe that is a first thing we could also propose. Maybe so. Please share what you have in mind.
Yeah, I've been it's super interesting to have all these tools put together in some kind of structured way, if we can say so. Because we are all sharing our knowledge and our tools and our information. I would love to put something together in this group as well to be able to explain in a structured or non-structural fashion this all this knowledge we are sharing across all these domains and all these disciplines. So yeah, I say this can be a very good proposal from Omega, and having in mind that we are Omega again, and we are trying to put together something that is doing sense making across all the crypto flowers, and I would love to to propose that to all of you.
Something like our little consilience project within Token Engineering.
I love this process. We are that is emerging in all the, I think, in all the discussions or all the debates and all this magnificent story sharing that we are doing, because we are all the storytellers at the same time that we are doing all this fantastic research. So yeah, I would love to have this kind of process and journey and say, okay, this is as well a journey. We there's nothing deterministic again about this.
Cool. Noted. Who'd like to go next? Sebastian, you're new, but I know you're not that new, so I'm putting you on the spot.
Yay! Thanks. Well, the Omega, the foundation structure of the community is one of my favorite topics of research, as you know, Sebnem, on the threefolding and all that stuff. So I'm always trying to find ways to introduce that knowledge. And threefolding is a social organ. It's a way of representing the social organism. Consists of 3 spheres that come together and balancing those 3 spheres together. I think I'm going to be putting a proposal up at the TC program thing to see if that takes on. I'm kind of like writing that up as we speak. But it basically allows for organic way of decision making, which is based on natural law, basically the way we function ourselves. We have, in a nutshell, is inputs coming in, outputs going out, and the intermediation of those 2 functions. So there's 3 functions that govern pretty much every organism, and it's input, output, and rhythm between the 2. The rhythm is the rhythm between the 2 is the legal sphere. The one that comes in is economics, and the one that's going out is culture. So you have three spheres, and then how you put them together, mush them up, put them into a milkshake, and drink it is what I'm trying to digest into this world. Next,
one second, Sebastian. That's also super cool. Yeah. So if you want to share also with this working group, I'm sure you'll get some feedback as well in that regard. And yeah, super cool. So I think this is exactly the right place.
I'm gonna put that. for that.
You-
Cool.
Cool.
So I'm
Okay.
gonna put a proposal soon in the,
Septimus.
Thank you, Sepnem. Yeah,
In the back.
I'm really interested to understand what really a token engineering is and how like the TC can bring value to all these token engineers. And I'll pass it to YCG.
Mhm.
Thanks, Septi. Very concise. It's good you know what you want. That's the hard part often. So for me, I'm here. I'm really interested in exposing myself to the ethics piece. Being
Mhm.
now, I've actually been fortunate to discover the Token Engineering Commons and this community, the Token Engineering Academy, early on last October, and go through that process and find work as a professional token engineer. And being on the inside of the industry, I realize how incredibly powerful a lot of the tools and techniques are that are being released. And I think a lot of people in this space, they kind of come from the underground, or they kind of come from, being on the fringes of society. And all of a sudden there's a lot of big wins happening, and projects take off and they explode and they accumulate resources. So we have people who are coming from this like really scrappy mindset of, how can I catch up? How can I gain influence? How can I have some power? How can I have autonomy? And that's often the mindset that people come into this. And before they know it, they achieve those things. They actually they launch a project and it takes off, and now there's a whole community behind it, or there's a treasury of millions of dollars. And so it's not so easy to shake all of the past and the history that we might have coming in, and going from that mode of having faith and hope, and then actually launching something and now having real resources and real influence and power. So I think we need to be mindful of our mindsets and be able to put ourselves into a mode where we just forget all the FUD, right? The fear and uncertainty,
Mhm.
and say, okay, well, let's assume that this is all going to work, and that crypto economics is going to take over the world, and these systems are going to unlock whole new levels of efficiency and coordination and decision making. Let's assume that these things are all powerful. Then with those assumptions, then it's really critical at these early stages to bake in the ethics at the very beginning, because otherwise it might be too late. 10 years down the line, if the whole world is running on crypto systems and no one was thinking about the ethics, then there's probably no going back at that point. So and that's not really my background. I did a degree in computer science, and there was an optional ethics course that I didn't take. so and even during my master's, I actually TA'd. I was a teaching assistant for an ethics class. So that's where that's the only exposure that I've had to sort of studying ethics in an academic sense. And then just getting some of it through the Ecosystems Value Flow course with the moral interface the interface to moral philosophy. So I want to support that. I want to be kind of a voice that says, yeah, I think ethics is really important in the industry at this time, and then just be able to learn it for myself and then rebroadcast and communicate those messages.
Wonderful. And literally that course was my ramp up to learning about all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So literally we live hacked the course and input this whole first principle thinking, just because this person came into token engineering, Fabian Bruder, and he's vanished as fast. But he left this really cool framework, at least cool for me as a computer scientist as well, who didn't hear anything about ethics. We didn't even have the options. I had ethics in high school and thought it was really cool, but it was like schedule filler for people who don't do religion. So this is the mindset we're coming in, and actually it is really cool that we're the type of people who like, okay, if this thing takes off and if this becomes a global coordination machine, and like we literally computer scientists are becoming the policymakers, are we legitimate to do that? And then also, are we, when I started this, literally it was with Yuval Harari last year, January 2020, where he said, we're facing philosophical bankruptcy, and we think humans are all about this drama of decision making. That's human life. This is our understanding. So what is human life going to be if decision making is done by algorithms? And I'm like, okay. At the time, I was already feeling, uncomfortable with creating all of these policies and token mechanics, incentives into a project, which is super wonderful, but it fiddles with the livelihoods and utility infrastructures of people I have not even have a connection to. So I was feeling really uncomfortable. But anyway, just to say how fast this whole thing moves and how much access we have to information, and that we can literally get people who are in it and who want to share these insights, into the space and get their input. So this is the kind of network we are in. Sebastian, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. What happened to Fabian? We had like great conversations with him, and it's just like, poof, where is he?
He transcended.
Is he still in the space agency thing?
No, he's so he left the ESA for sure. He's currently in Bali and resorting life, basically, right? And
Okay.
I'm really bullish on getting him back. And everyone say, Fabian, come back to Token Engineering. We're missing you.
Yeah,
I
great
think,
guy.
yeah, he was really cool and opened a lot of doors, especially also through that course, kind of. And just hearing the same thing from Sean, basically that it did something, it triggered something that he now considers to be worth pursuing. I can just say the same. Yeah. So greetings to Fabian. A lot of thanks from here. And we definitely want to carry this on in one way or the other. Yes, who's
So
yes, Chewy.
I'll pass to Lydia, unless Chewy had something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something really quick. Like from a comms perspective, like I've been speaking to a lot of communities, especially like artist communities, and just collectives that get together and come up with some movies, or musicians that get together and like come up with like their own gigs and stuff like that. So naturally, like speaking to them about this whole thing, and they're like, no man, like I don't want to get into crypto. Like I'm not a technical person. And it's like, oh my God, like
you have to.
the way I approach it is that like you guys already have the most difficult part, which is being a community of people that have common goals. That is actually like the hard part. Like just giving your community like Web3 tools to help like governance and stuff like that is like the easy part. But I think the hard part is finding people that you can think in similar ways and pursue an objective together. And I think that this by itself already has a lot of ethics involved. I mean, this needs to like be born with ethics. So like the way I would put it is like from a token engineering perspective, which is something that I've been knowing how to like artist communities think for like many years, but I've only recently like started like thinking how the token engineering perspective approaches this. And I think that more than just like coming up with like guidelines or like ethical like regulations or limitations, to put it in a way, I I personally would consider that the token engineering roles with regarding ethics is more like to preserve them, because these communities are born with these ethics, and many of them, depending on their cultural background, are gonna be different, and they're not gonna like agree most of the time. But if token engineering, instead of like funneling like towards like what we understand of ethics, and just try to like present the tools to preserve the ethics that these groups are born with, I think might be like closer to like an aligned mission for token engineers to like serve these communities. Yeah, I just wanted to add that because some of the stuff that Sean mentioned, I found it really interesting. So yeah, that was it. Thanks.
Cool. Do you have an idea, like especially also from how far these worldviews can be apart within those communities and a purely technical community, for example? We had this, we have this the scientism almost, religious belief in science and the scientific method, and oftentimes that's discards or doesn't include the observer, although the ways of observing and so on, all of that, and not taking it into account is actually something of a bad practice. Do you also, from communications, do you see yes, there is this gap, but then actually it's worth coming up with ways, when you say preserving their ethos or a community's ethos, but then with tools or with insights, and also with the awareness that there is these things to be preserved as a token engineer. Don't just come in and say this is how things are done, but what type of ways and what type of communications could we have? Do you have something there, maybe from the perspective that you have, that we might be missing?
I don't know if this is gonna answer the question, but it's just like a thought that I had. So to put an example, what are movie credits for? Like if like speaking more creatively, so what do movie credits work for? So you go back in time and see, okay, so how are movies and like history of cinema and stuff like that. So as soon as money like was an issue there, as soon as they started like getting industry and people started attending movies, it was very like relevant to have your name up there. Why? Because if I was part of this movie, and if I was part of this project, if it was either like producing it or making coffee, like whatever, you were a part of that. And there's like an ethical background to this, because like people were like trying to get like more work into the industry, and they wanted to get more involved in it. But then like as time passes by, like this starts evolving in other ways. So originally it was intended to communicate that someone was participating in
contributing,
and this is why they could get like professional benefits. But then the time started passing by, and then even like credits are even like an aesthetic resource nowadays. Like so the names that go there don't matter as much as the after credits at the end of the Avengers movie. Or like if you want to have like some bloopers on the side and just like keep people a little bit, and no one really cares about those names. Like even if you take Netflix or you take like Amazon or any of these streaming platforms, as soon as the credits start rolling in, they're like, okay, watch this next. Like these people don't matter. and I mean, like it just like it seems that it's a right time to change. So like for example, like it occurs to me, which is like for me, like a personal goal would be to find new ways to filmmaking, but in a decentralized way, or come up with a film festival that is based on community participation instead of like like a selection group of people that are gonna like pick stuff based on like that, whatever. So like thinking about that, like if you came up with a decentralized film, Like if you get together with a group of people and you all have like the same like inspiration or whatever, and then you make a film and you start distributing that film, would you like put out there like every name just like in an old school way, or you could even like go back and say that just one credit, you know, it's like the end, like retro style, like the Casablanca days. So just like the end. This film was made by this community. And the way you're known professionally is because you have a role in this community. So at the end of the day, like the name doesn't even matter, because it's gonna like redefine it. The process is gonna redefine itself. And it's not gonna be a vertical structure like as we know it right now. It's not gonna be like a producer, and the producer handles the money, and then the director says what he wants to do, and the producer needs to negotiate with the executive producer to see how these funds are handled. And no, like if you're an actor or you're a set builder, you can vote in how these funds are gonna be. And the director, like as successful as he is, he needs to find ways to communicate with the community so that they can all take this decision together. So the essence of things, like when it changes, it just changes the whole thing. And if you go back in time and you study like the history of cinema, which is one of like the most like recent like forms of art, we're not really like developed as in like, I don't know, like paintings, you know, like we have centuries of paintings and we barely have a century. So we're still rediscovering and coming up with all these things. And most of these things are based in ethical issues, but through time, like these things evolve, and you have the freedom to just ask yourself from zero again. So what this issue was originally for, and how these circumstances are benefiting them. So sorry if I'm like rambling by now, but I wanted to, I wanted to say that idea because I don't know.
Perfect.
Like working like towards the same thing.
Perfect. So just a few comments, and I'm sure we will get back to this. So there was this writing of Jay Pearson. I'm going to share this. It was about, organizational man. There was something written in 1930s or so about, how this man makes a living in this new society that is pretty ordered. And he wrote Blockchain Man. And at the end of it, anyways, he makes a reference to that we might have now the opportunity to actually organize like huge film crews that do, right? They get together, they do create something, then that works. Like this film is produced, the token network, the smart contracts are produced, and that's gonna run. And literally the credits, or even be reused, parts of it be reused, and you can have this fractal attribution or fractal credits, if you will, right? So these are things definitely we're moving into. I don't know how many, like I had only today, 3 different conversations on this, and it's going to this new type of mutual credit, if you will, if you want to say that, but it also sounds too old, and so we're definitely moving towards that. And the ethos, as you said, it's about credits, sharing the credit, but also sharing the cost and the risk, and also the vision. These are all organizational things as well. Like you find this in the basics of organizational theory. I'm sure Sebastian would have another hour to add. I don't know, from associative economics and so on. So I think this is the right place. And again, just trying to figure out how we can make use of coming together in this group and help with these. Like, are we talking about also maybe, conciliating all of the ways to create these fluid organizations that can come together and then go back again. The tooling can help, but also the mindset is important. Like, how do we share that starts from such an area? So I think definitely something, and I'm sure I'll get back to the recording of the session and also share those links that resonated a lot, actually. And then Lydia, I think I hope we're not confusing you. Because as things go, everyone works on many levels and everything seems connected. So we are very associative. But Lydia comes with a research background, is actually interested in all of the complexities, there is. So yeah, please share.
No, I mean, that's completely true. I'm a bit confused. Also, I mean, because I'm not coming from, let's say, like from the industry or from like the crypto world background. So I'm really, really new to it. And sometimes it's a bit difficult to really follow. It's true. So, I mean, my background, as I already said, is in anthropology and peace research. So I would say it's like completely different background, and maybe, but I think it's also very relevant to have, I mean, also like this transdisciplinary or multidisciplinary approach. And I mean, also the topic of ethics is really, really important both for anthropological research, and me also, my research focuses on, I'm researching with really conflict affected, let's say, vulnerable communities. So, I mean, outside of this project. So I think that like these are questions that are really, really important. I mean, not just for, let's say, the token engineering, but also for research. And then I'm also involved in peace work. And there, of course, it is also important to have, let's say, to follow conflict sensitive approaches, to have some kind of do not harm approaches, and to also proceed very, let's say, ethically. And I think, let's say, if you speak about, let's say, my own research contribution, or what I imagine, I mean, so I would like to have like this kind of discussion we are having now, let's say, or to organize this kind of discussion, maybe also with people from outside this working group Omega, to have some kind of either focus group discussion, so kind of group discussion. Both maybe like one idea could be to have some kind of forum, but also to have some kind of, let's say, talks, discussion rounds, maybe in a bit more structured ways, and to exchange like what we were doing now, but exchange, okay, what means also ethical approach from like the token engineers, and what is also their experience in this area, like also what you were sharing, maybe also from, let's say, your educational background, your socialization, and then I'm also also interested in decision making, and also there's this working group of gravity. So what people understand as conflict, and which kind of conflict mechanism they're developing, and yes, I think this is the like both contribution I can see. And I just wanted to say in the end that I really like this participatory approach, and and I think also I cannot really point out more specific topics because I feel I'm really new, and I think for my position I cannot identify like the topics that are relevant. So I think I will also like to discuss this together with you, and to, let's say, because as you already said, ethics, maybe it's also a very broad topic, so it could be also okay, what could be the focus more on this. Yes, this is what I see as my potential contribution.
Yeah, but those are cool. So I'm good questions, right? Like the challenges we were identifying at the very beginning. So we are Omega, we are going back to Alpha all the time. So I think those kind of research topics are really something we want to tackle in this group as well. So that maybe can be trickled down into more specific things. I don't know if through research or focus groups, or just making this kind of a shared knowledge in this consciousness group, and saying, okay, we are trying to go and to put together all this kind of knowledge. So as you say, we don't want to be like only the scientists, only the token engineers, only the anthropologists, or the lawyers, or the designers. We are trying to to somehow like putting this together in this participatory forum, but as well trying to say, okay, this can be prioritized in a way to make sense of our body of knowledge, internal and external.
Yeah.
It's also very important. So we have to put that into the fore as well.
Exactly. And just a question, Lydia. So when you say, I am assuming, I think you have an arsenal of tools and how to handle such. So when you say forum or focus groups, there is a way of doing this type of discussion. So actually, at the end, there is, the synthesis of knowledge. Or
I mean, so you mean the synthesis of knowledge? So for example, we do the focus group, and then I mean, yes, I think this is also something we can discuss, and I would prefer, but then it also depends to have some kind of also participatory data collection, but also data analysis. No, so this could be. I mean, this also depends, of course, on, let's say, the time resources. No, but. I mean, it would be good if we, for example, if you have the opportunity to prepare together these focus groups, then to conduct them together and then to analyze them together, because this is also in a participatory way. And of course, I could somehow prepare this, but yes. I mean...
No. Yeah, we can do it participatory, but if you say, like, if we had this structure where, this is basically, the structure is for actually getting insights out in a way that is comparable, or where we know that we have actually really captured all participating worldviews, that would be perfect, because as at the very least from my side, it's very hand-wavy. Even the questions that we put together and so on and so forth. I think Letty and Michael were the ones who had more insights into how to form this. But if we actually, get inputs from you, how we should go about, these focus groups around this ethical engineering or diversity, capturing the essence, that we do it in a way that is, scientific would be cool. Okay, Peter, do you want to share something?
Yeah. I don't probably have a ton to contribute. I would say that my background is just that I am an aspiring token engineer. I found the community a couple months ago, and have been poking around. I've also been collaborating with Sean on some work at his company. I mean, I'm just still super enthusiastic and excited to learn as much as I can about token engineering. And ethics, I think, is a huge piece of that. I've never taken any formal education in ethics, so didn't study engineering, wasn't even an option in my courses, unfortunately. But I think it's really important. I think a lot of that might have been missed or left in the dust when Web 2 took over with such great speed. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a question of if, it's more of when Web 3 takes over and starts really running a lot of our lives or being a big part of it. And if we're engineering incentives, then we're trying to figure out, or we're trying to guide people's behavior, then I think it would be important to have some ethics in mind while doing so. But yeah,
Exactly.
I'm just really excited to, excited to learn more about how to even define ethics. I'd like to think that I have ethics, but I haven't thought too deeply about it.
Yeah, it's also
formal education about ethics. It's like we were talking about filmmaking. How do you do a structured curriculum for filmmaking? How do you do a structured curriculum for ethics? I don't think that's possible in any way. So yeah, we're trying to comprehend that this social knowledge, it is not social in the same sense that we are approaching the scientific knowledge. So I think that bringing that and thinking about that in this deep sense is something we can all agree with.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Super cool. And basically, what I also liked about this approach, and why I even dared to pick it up, what Fabian had brought in back then in October, not that long, was it wasn't descriptive. It wasn't prescriptive. It wasn't like 10 commandments, or these are the 8 rules. Even Ostrom's principles, or these principles, and these are given, and they might be true in one setting, in one context, but you can't just take things out of context, especially models. Same true for principles. If they are if they're reflecting the ethos of one community, for example, you might not be able to just rip them off and plant them in another community, and that's going to be hope it's not going to be harmful. So I think this is where we are coming back to, like, okay, it's quite easy. Ethics do no harm. You're on the safe side then, but then engineering is all about trade-offs. We don't have, or I don't know, law. Letty, you have a law background, no? Like,
yeah, but I'm thinking, because all this day we have had these conversations about all these frameworks, and you're bringing about the 4 principles and the 8 worldviews, maybe, and we have to remember that we have this fractal ethos, and this fractal ethos is organic as well and synthetic. And yes, I think we can transport that into several communities. And I'm thinking about ahimsa, which is universal and that can be brought about in any conversation. You have ahimsa in the West and in the East. And I think that's the first principle. Sometimes we when it comes to engineering. So if you design or engineer with ahimsa and non-violence in mind, you can transport that to any community in a way. So I would say, like, this first principle can be upheld in any community and any body of knowledge.
So help me again. Ahimsa says non-violence.
Yeah, please, non-violence. Ahimsa.
Ahimsa, yeah, exactly. And also we have this non-violent communication was going around and so on. So I think these are the things that we want to touch upon, make that practical for people who really have to. I don't know if you ever were in a token sale involved. If not, you can read Andrei Cronge's Medium rants. He has a point. It's more like the fight of survival, where you don't, maybe you lose your ethics even in such a fight. I don't know. Like I'm really. How do you call, my respect grows more and more, but at the same time, we can't. I don't want to, if we say this is going to be the infrastructure of our digital communities or information era society, like, I don't want to live in this society where it's about, number go up, number go down. Have you survived? Did you lose your last shirt? Was your house tokenized? And not your keys, not your house. That type of thing. I guess it's important that we have this slow thinking, not just fast doing and experimenting, but also this slow thinking, and add this really basics, literally. When do you know, like, what are the we're talking about crypto economics patterns and so on, like things or best practices, things that you can just deploy and say all will be good, but they don't take any type of, not even hand holding, but any type of consideration about the outcomes of the decisions that are being made and implemented as a smart contract logic and deployed on a blockchain, where everyone can trigger and interact with that smart contract. Unintended consequences, right? How do we detect them, and then what do we do? Yeah, once detected, what do we do? And as a token engineer, I don't know, have you ever been in this situation where it's more like, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Can you make this wiggle this way or that way? What are the knobs? And the simplest thing is, can you make the number go up? And then I'm like, I could, but yeah, like there might be consequences. You know, there is this. I will share that as well. Like this expert. There's this video. Like, I'm an expert. Of course, I can do anything. So this type of daily lives of engineers out there today. How can we make this, whatever we are coming out with insights? How can we make this really practical for really day-to-day decision making as a token engineer, meaning you're somewhat in charge of making the decisions of a token design of a community. How do you involve the community? How do you know you're legit? How do you know they know what you have come up with? And in Token Engineering Commons, it's like we're saying, your choice, your economy, your choice, but we only give parameters to tune. Like, okay, and we hope but everyone knows we're dogfooding. These are the first designs. These are the first things that we are creating in this best practice. So basically, that's also an interesting point to look at. Okay. So first of all, thanks a lot. I think this participatory round was super helpful for me to also see. This was also the first round where I really feel like this is the Omega Group perfect makeup with the backgrounds, law, economics, anthropology, communication arts, as software engineers, right? Super cool. We have the Token Engineering Commons working group leads and so on. That would be fantastic if you can, make time every 2 weeks and join. And I would like to find a way, hopefully with the help of Lydia, how we can prepare these calls maybe in a way that is helpful with structuring inputs and structuring outputs, or having an output that is usable. Yeah. So I would definitely say, Lydia, we find a way to maybe have a working session, as we call it. And I would just also invite everyone else who's interested to join. But maybe we really just see, like, I'm really curious about, maybe also what is overlapping with your research focus. So, that's what I'm trying to recommend everyone, like, try to come or contribute with something that you're doing anyways, and then basically feel like the action is the reward in a sense, that we start things that we know we can sustain out of our own energy. But definitely we will go for a Token Engineering Commons proposal as well. And maybe when we have Lydia's input, also we can create a proposal. But definitely we have what I call the low-hanging fruit proposals, which I know that are going to be super helpful. Our researchy, like this Conciliant thing, right? We should definitely do that. We have, from all of the sense-making sessions we had until now, we have enough input to make this proposal. So that's one thing, Letty. Definitely. I don't know if you would like to have a working session on that as well. We could do that, for example.
That would be interesting, maybe to put together all the inputs, outputs together and make sense of low hanging fruits, and then going forward to other proposals, maybe, or the capillarity of the issues. Yeah.
Okay, so these are the two things I would suggest, and if you want, we can just look in our calendars and make 2 dates. And Lydia, I think your colleague also wanted to join at some time, right?
Yes, I mean, Albert wanted to join, but I don't know if maybe today he couldn't. So I will so the next meeting will be again in 2 weeks for the next community.
We can. I could. In 2 weeks, same time. But in between, I would suggest that we have a working session around this research, capturing the research topic and our method at the very least, and see whether we can make a proposal out of it. I think we need a better exchange there, or one more exchange, I would say, just on that. And if you want to suggest a time that works for you, maybe next week we could try and lock the dates just now, for example. So I'm looking at.
Are you looking to Wednesdays or the calendar? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can keep the previous hour for the working session. But I don't remember which one. 5 CET.
5 p.m. CET. Is this better? 4 p.m. CET it was. Or what do you mean?
No, maybe for the bi-weekly it's fine to keep this one, because maybe it's more
okay.
The environment is more worthy to do that. And if we have a contact meeting next week, it can be earlier for the work
earlier for the working session. Okay, let's. I was okay. So I was just about to suggest 2 dates, for example, that would work for me. For example, next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. CET for the working session, and especially Letty and Lydia, if you would make time.
I think for me, Tuesday 1 p.m. could work.